Welcome to the Newcastle Entertainment Centre for the final home game of the season for the Falcons. And these teams is going to go through to the playoffs next week. And Steve Carfino, how will the Kings
going to win this ball game? Definitely. They have not long and do not want to go into the 1992 playoffs on a road double loss.
Gold Coast, the Kings losing to the Rollers by 107 points to 103. Restop scored for Sydney with 22 points. The South East Melbourne Magic by 10. And then the big one, Adelaide, defeating to throw the playoffs into disarray. The playoffs. Let's have a look now at how the first 8-team series will unfold in the NBL.
The top 8 teams on the way season all qualify for the finals. These 8 teams start by competing in the quarter season on top of the ladder, playing the team finishing 3rd plays 6th and 4th plays 5th. All rounds are contested over a best-of-3 format. But if a team was to win the first 2 matches and thus the round, a 3rd game is not necessary. The 4 winners of the quarterfinals go straight into the semi-finals, while the 4 losers are eliminated from the series. The winner of round 1 plays the winner of round 4. The other semi bringing the winner of round 2 together with the winner of round 3. The 2 eventual winners of the semis progress to the grand final. The team which finished the higher on the ladder gains the advantage of playing 2 of the possible 3 games on their home court.
Well, Sydney went into this weekend knowing they had to play 3 games in 4 days, 2 league matches and 1 playoff. Here's what Coach Bob Turner had to say about that.
Is not so much a disadvantage only because we're in 2nd spot and it doesn't matter what we do in the last road trip. So even if I rested my starters and didn't play them as many minutes and we lost the games, it doesn't really have any effect or any bearing on where we place. So I'll be experimenting a little bit on those 2 games and making sure that on the Monday for the 28th we're really fresh and ready to go.
Coach Bob Turner may be taking it easy tonight, but I doubt that's the case with Tom Wisman and the Falcons. The Falcons are playing for a lot of pride tonight and next year's contracts. Here's what Tom Wisman has to say about tonight's game.
Well, we're here to prove that we've got some pride, and we hope to come out, end our season with a win. We don't have the playoffs to look forward to as Sydney do, but it's a big game for Newcastle when they're playing the Kings. We're going to have a capacity crowd here. We want to give our fans something to remember us by this season.
And in a moment, we'll check out the lineups for both teams. But first, let's have the national anthem. The last time the national anthem will be sung at the Entertainment Centre for a Falcons game this season. Now the referees firstly for tonight's game. Ray Hunt and Jeff Weeks are your referees, about to blow time on. Our thanks to Paul Kuiper for joining us on the sidelines tonight. He'll be giving us the insights into both teams' benches and also reports from the locker rooms. But it is a shame for Newcastle that Paul won't be with them. Let's have a look at the lineup. Minus Paul Kuiper, Everette Stephens at guard with Al Green, Mean Al Green, Michael Johnson with Terry Dozier, and Chris Steele makes up the starting 5. Sean Dennis, Grant Kruger, Peter Harvey, Alex Morgan-Lowe and Neil Turner on the bench. The coach, Tom Wisman.
The Sydney Kings will line up the same way that they have all year long. With Damien Keogh in the backcourt at 33, Dwayne McLean joining in Mark Dalton at the small forward, Ken Mccleary at the power forward, Dean Utah starting at center. Coming off the bench, Tony D'Ambrosis, Peter Hill, Corey Reeder, Jody Austin, Tim Morrissey, and the coach is Bob Turner.
And here we go, ready for the tip-off of this game. Just how will it pan out? Sydney, on paper anyway, with nothing to play for. Newcastle with a lot to prove. Everett Stephens making the first move of this game. Jumper from Al Green, misses. McLean's rebound. Sydney comes back. I think, as we said earlier, Sydney would hate to go into the playoffs losing 2 in a row, but Newcastle lost a couple last week, so they don't want to go out of this competition on a losing streak either.
They don't either. The Sydney Kings go right into Dean Utah, shuffled his feet right there, and gets called for the travel.
So Newcastle back on offense. Everett Stephens. Nice ball inside. Dozier turns back to the defense, puts the first points down. So Newcastle leads 2-0.
Terry Dozier was the 1991 Defensive Player of the Year, but he can really mix it up on the offensive end, too, because he's got a nice little turnaround jump shot, as you saw in that last possession. Kenny Mccleary returns it with a nice little bank off the glass.
2-2. Paul Kuiper, how do you see Newcastle combating Kings' big men tonight?
Well, they're going to start off in a zone. They feel like they're not quite big enough to handle him man-to-man, and they feel with the zone they have a bit better chance. It's not as physical.
Keogh now. McLean back across to Dalton. So perimeter passing from the Kings. Dalton gets inside the Mccleary, can't buy the bucket, but Utah cleans up and still it won't go down. Johnson hands off to Green. The Falcons on the attack. Stephens just inside, and eventually it goes down, and we can afford a little laugh about that one, Everett Stephens. It's 4-2 to the Falcons. Great atmosphere at the Entertainment Centre, one of the best venues in the NBL. But there are many. Mccleary turns, makes the shot. But the foul called against Everett Stephens.
Everett Stephens gets that foul. The reason that the Falcons, as Paul said, went to the zone because they're having a lot of trouble matching up with the Sydney Kings, but that zone seems like it's really full of holes. The Kings are able to get the ball into the inside to Kenny Mccleary very easily.
And Mccleary misses the first free throw. Sydney, as a team, has the worst percentage for the charity stripe, 63. And Mccleary makes it 50% from the 2 shots. The Falcons still lead by 1. Back comes Stephens. Double teamed, but gets it away to Green.
Well, they call Everett Stephens Mr. Excitement. He can do just about everything on the floor, but one thing he is guilty of, he makes quite a few turnovers. As Al Green bumps up a 3 and misses, the Kings collect another rebound.
But one thing Everett Stephens does that I haven't seen anyone else do, and that's that funny sort of worm walk that he gets onto the court with. That is something else. Sydney offense goes back. Keogh again passing inside to Utah, back out to Dalton. Thinks about the 3, but then fires it to the baseline for Mccleary. It's short. But he pulls it in, or at least McLean pulls it in and controls nicely. So good defense from Newcastle, and the charge called. Plenty of position there from Terry Dozier. McLean has a chat with the Kings bench, but Terry Dozier looked like he was pretty well planted.
Bob didn't like that call. There wasn't a whole lot of room for Dwayne McLean to get around him on the baseline. And he got pinged with the charge.
Bob Turner had a pretty uneasy time at the Kingdome last week when Sydney beat Hobart, but were far from convincing as Johnson gets up for the shot and it goes back out again, and Keogh gets the rebound. And he would have been less than happy with the Gold Coast win last night. So not an easy ride to the playoffs for the Kings coach. Nice inside score from Sydney. Utah from the Mccleary pass.
Well, the Kings have had some easy shots. Kenny Mccleary's missed a couple. Dean Utah missed a little bit of a sitter. This foul's on Dwayne McLean, but Dean Utah makes no mistake and puts that one down with the left hand. So they're getting good shots, they're just not putting them down.
Sydney leads by 5, and Dwayne McLean confers with the referee over that decision. Everett Stephens with a smile. Lots of talking out there for the Falcons. Johnson, Green now to Dozier. Green again. Al Green goes for a little drive, but hands off to Dozier in a dunk position. Thank you. 6-5, the Falcons lead, and the local fans are happy.
Well, this is how the Sydney Kings are going to come out. Lethargic like this. They look like they don't really want to win the basketball game. They've got their starting 5 out there, and they can't take this kind of momentum into the playoffs. Nice little basket by Kenny Mccleary there.
Mccleary's begun the game strongly. He's locked up 5 points. shooting 2 from 4 from the field. Let's have a look at this last one.
Right there, no help defense after he gets by Keogh. Can't allow that. Nice little dunk by Terry Dozier there.
Got up beautifully too, from nowhere.
Both teams in the zone. That's why this game has started off kind of slow, because you have to be very patient, because you don't want to shoot all perimeter from the outside.
Keogh on Stephens, gets it inside. The Grant Kruger haircut has changed, but his shooting is just as good. 8-7, the Falcons back in front. Will we see a clash between Grant Kruger and Timmy Morrissey tonight? Or just about anybody for that matter. Mccleary gets in and makes the bucket. Good scoring. He goes to 7 points in Sydney, goes to 9.
Can you come on and just wipe that, please?
A little bit of moisture on the court here, so the refs are holding play temporarily. Sydney have had some physical games in their last few outings. They seem to bring that out in their opponents.
They play very physical, but it looks like they've refocused here, because they have gotten the ball inside to the placers and the players that they want to shoot.
Oh, nice move, Dozier. Unlucky to not get the bucket. Kruger got up nicely for the rebound.
7 for the arms, this way. Here we go.
Now Newcastle from the side. Utah there in shot.
The rebound.
Johnson. Grant Kruger, double team. Not many options. That wasn't the one he wanted. Mccleary to Keogh, and here they come. It's Dwayne McClean. Utah on the baseline. Beautiful block from Everette Stephens, but was there contact?
Foul is 7, coming across the arm.
Yep, apparently there was. The foul against Everett. That's his second already.
Last time these two teams met, Everette Stephens was second in the league in block shots, so that's no mistake that he's going in there and blocking the big man shot.
Amazing, considering he's certainly far from the tallest player in the league, as Utah makes the first of the free throws after a while.
1. Nice touch.
Center rumbles, and Utah still makes the second free throw. Sydney leads by 3. But Johnson on the breakout. Kruger, but cleaned up by Stephens. And the basket will count.
Good heads-up play by Everette Stephens right there. Gets the loose ball.
3 for the arm. When it comes.
Foul against Damian Keogh.
1.
Potential three-point play. This could level the game at 11. And it does. Some shaky free throw shooting tonight, but they're going down mostly. Here's Dalton. Sydney breaks out. Mccleary, pump fake, dispossessed by Kruger, but there was a touch in there, possibly from Dozier.
31, 3, 1.
That is Terry Dozier across the arm. Ken Mccleary goes to the free throw line, gets a nice pass for Mark Dalton right there. Nice little pump fake, goes up, gets Kenny Mccleary across the right arm, and that's why he's going to the line for 2.
They can make some noise here at the entertainment center. Mccleary makes the bucket and goes to a 1-point lead, Sydney.
I'd say the biggest reason why the Sydney Kings have improved their free throw shooting is because of that man right there. He's really sharpened his technique. He's got a nice little soft touch, and a lot more of them are going down.
Began the season with hardly any confidence at all. And they have been able to make some important free throws. Sydney leads by 2. They've got the turnover. And Paul, how do you see the early minutes?
Well, once again, Newcastle is by far a weaker team inside, as you can see, getting the rebounds in Sydney. As you see, Everette Stephens is also making a lot of turnovers. They really got to cut that out, because you don't get many second chances with the Sydney Kings.
So, Sydney will go to the line again. Mark Dalton, I should say.
Yeah, they're both very big boys. Dalton.
Come on, let us slide up now.
And sadly, we haven't seen much of Brad this year, of course, through that injury.
Going back to that point that Paul Kuiper was making, the Sydney Kings get so many offensive rebounds and get so many second attempts that you really can't afford to go go down there and not even get a shot off. That last possession, Everette Stephens just winged the ball right to a Sydney Kings player. Grant Kruger did the same thing a couple of times down. You just can't do that against the Kings.
Dalton sinks it, so Sydney leads by 3. 6.5 left in the first quarter. Dozier gets a big reception from the fans when he walks on court. Everette Stephens now lobs it over to Johnson.
The Sydney Kings in a 3-2 zone right now, and they look so big in it because they got Mark Dalton up front with Damian Keogh and Dwayne McCleary with that long arm span as Al Green takes it to the hole. Nice shot.
Mean Al narrows the gap to 1 point. Timeout has been called. We'll come back after this break with more at the Entertainment Centre. Team is behind by just the 1 point against Sydney. And it's been an absorbing battle, double teaming here on Dwayne McCleary, which is a tactic most teams have been forced to use this season. Kenny Mccleary back out to Keogh. Dalton finds some space. Utah right underneath, perhaps too far underneath, really, to get a clean shot. Terry Dozier came in with the block.
The Sydney Kings really attacked that full court pressure very well, getting the ball to the middle, Mark Dalton, and him attacking the full court pressure instead of just waiting for them to collapse around him. As Damian Keogh launches the 3, no good. Dean Utah doing what he does best.
But well hustled there by Grant Kruger. Utah just found it hard to pull it in, and Grant Kruger was giving away a fair bit in height, but certainly not in heart, and he's in a jump ball with Kenny Mccleary after the scramble.
See right here, Dean Utah shoves Grant Kruger as he's going for the basketball. Both players going for it. And then it's tied up.
Dalton goes for the shot. It's not there, but Kenny Mccleary cleans it up, and Sydney already getting a lot of rebounds in this game, and that'll be an important factor. 16-13 they lead. On the breakout, Stephens couldn't get it down. Here's McCleary. It's 2-on-1. Keogh. And missed the layup. Now he's going to wait. Here's Utah on the baseline. Still can't get it down, but wins his own rebound. Nice block. Keogh. Johnson blocking. Here's Mccleary right over the top to Dalton. Utah, quick passing now from Sydney to open some space for Mccleary's shot. It's back out. But again, Sydney dominating the boards. Mccleary inside. This one won't go down. Finally a clearance. And Sydney out-rebounding Newcastle by 8-1. And talk about pressure.
1-1, guys.
There's 5 team fouls up against the Falcons already. That's why the ref signaled the 1-1 from that foul.
1-1 now.
We've got 4 minutes 30 left in the quarter, so already a high foul count for the Falcons, and I guess up against this big Kings lineup, that's inevitable. Utah misses the shot. That means he doesn't get the second chance. Stephens breaks out for Green. Little jumper inside the perimeter, but it's well short, and the ball goes over the side. Paul Kuiper, I guess Newcastle, of course, without you, that puts a lot of workload on the guys like Grant Kruger and Terry Dozier under the boards.
Well, Grant Kruger's had to grow up very quickly this year after just a few seasons here, and not only does he have the height, a lot of the guys on the team don't have the upper body strength that the Sydney Kings have, and that's proving a big problem, as you can see tonight.
Nice moves from Al Green. Nice play. Newcastle back within 1 point of the Sydney Kings.
Well, the Sydney Kings would have a commanding lead if they could make a couple of layups on these rebounds. They're out-rebounding the Newcastle Falcons as Keogh launches the 3.
Oh, big shot.
Good shot from Damian, but they've got to finish those offensive rebounds like usually they do very well.
Well, Grant Kruger was taken out underneath, but it's Sydney's ball from the side. That was clean. 19-15, the Kings lead. And bearing in mind, Sydney thrashed Newcastle at the Kingdome when these two teams last met, but as Keogh makes the three-point attempt off the medal, they did not have Paul Kuiper or Terry Dozier on court that night, the Falcons, so they were lacking a lot of firepower. There's Johnson. Brings some applause to the entertainment centre and takes his team within 2 points. Now here is trouble. There is a brawl. I haven't seen the likes of this for a long, long time.
Away, guys, away, guys. Get out.
Now, Al Green had a long, long way to get involved in that. Steve, can you shed any light on it?
I didn't see other than Dean Uthoff and Al Green getting tangled up on that one. And they must have both caught elbows in the head because neither one of them liked that exchange.
Paul, did you get a view of it? You were pretty close down there.
I think I got a bit of blood and sweat on me. It looked like Dean Uthoff really didn't want to get involved in it and was trying to back off, but Al Green was pretty intense in that exchange, and
Well, let's have a look at the replay. Here's the play that led to it. Johnson makes the bucket. We were sort of talking about that. Now, Uthoff and Green are under the boards there now having a little wrestle. Something happened. Uthoff waved him away. Then there's the wrestle. Now, Green's come at him again. He wants to go on with it. Mccleary's in there trying to pull Dozier off. Now he's trying to pull...
I think I overheard the ref say that they're both disqualified, and I think Sydney's going to lose out on that exchange with Big Dean Uthoff doing a lot of board work for the Sydney Kings.
One interesting thing I thought I saw...
We're ready, Coach.
I thought I saw Alex Morgan-Lowe involved in that too, Paul. Did you...
No, I didn't see that. I was too busy watching Dean, but it's a shame that it had to come to this. Who says this game isn't important?
Yes.
Whenever you step out on the floor and you're challenged by an opponent, very rarely do you see anybody, especially a professional, back down.
So we've got Green and Uthoff out of the game. Is that correct? Uthoff certainly put his tracksuit back on. Paul, you've just spoken to the bench. Can you confirm that Green and Uthoff are out of the game?
Done 50.
Paul's just checking it out now, as a matter of fact. We'll come back to him in a minute. But I have not seen anything like that on a basketball court ever, as we look at Dean Uthoff, who's probably wondering how the hell did that happen. And there's Al Green. Now, they've both got their tracksuit on. Al Green's having a laugh about it, but I guess he doesn't have to worry about any more NBL matches this season. Paul, have you got a report on what's the punishment is?
Well, I just asked the Newcastle bench, and Al Green's definitely disqualified, and same with Dean Uthoff.
Well, there you go. That is a first. I don't think we'll hear the end of it either. Michael Johnson, Everette Stephens. Neil Turner now getting some court time, almost dispossessed. Morrissey's on court. Now, after a bit of a blue, who else to bring on but Tim Morrissey to spark things up a little more?
Go, guys.
The Sydney Kings lineup after Dean Uthoff makes an exit.
Get set.
Also, Kenny Mccleary. Now, all of a sudden, they've got a pretty small lineup with Mark Dalton and Dwayne McClean being the tallest players for the Sydney Kings.
I think everybody's still in a little shocked over what happened, but here's Neil Turner on the line and makes a good bucket. Settles everything down. It's still just a one-point game. Neil Turner, 22 years of old, a big future, one of the big, tall players that Australia's produced. There haven't been too many. 18 points to Newcastle, 19 to the Sydney Kings, and they are both a player down. Uthoff is out for the Kings, and Green out for the Falcons after, well, as McClean makes this shot and it doesn't go down, you can only describe it as a brawl without any real punches thrown. Neil Turner, Michael Johnson, I should say, sinks a big three, and that puts Newcastle ahead by 2. Paul, which team do you think this incident would unsettle the most?
Well, as far as the board work, I think the Sydney Kings can cover Dean Uthoff's board work. There's a lot of big guys. Al Green has done great work this year inside for us, and he's one of the main scorers for us, so it's going to be very interesting.
Dozier now, heavy defense, but Stephens and Dozier play the 1-2. With his back to Morrissey, the charge has been called. Morrissey did seem to have some position, and Terry seemed to back into him.
Well, Timmy had great position on Terry Dozier right there. Terry wanting to take advantage of the height right there he had on Tim Morrissey and backed him in a little bit too much.
Here's the foul count. Newcastle 8, Sydney 6. Hill gets it into Morrissey. Busy lineup on for the Kings. Keogh fakes the three. Now he goes. He had his foot on the perimeter line. And that is a two-point shot. 21-24. Sydney leads. Now, big shot from Johnson. He was a good 3 feet outside the semicircle and levels the scores at the Entertainment Centre.
And that is one guy you do not want to let get going.
Now, here we go again. Morrissey's down in back play.
Intentional foul is on 50.
Well, Neil Turner doesn't appear to me to be the sort of player who'd start anything like that, but it's an intentional foul against him.
So right here, Tim Morrissey catches a little bit of an elbow from Neil Turner. I didn't see much in that one.
I don't think Neil even knew it happened.
Well, I've experienced those elbows before, and believe me, they're very sharp. He may not have the muscle behind it, but they hurt.
So Morrissey on the free throw line, and what is going to happen next? He misses. And that was a popular miss here in Newcastle. The scores are locked at 24 all. And we've got 1 minute 28 left in the first quarter. Morrissey makes the second. So Sydney by 1, and being an intentional foul, they'll get the ball back from the side. Peter Hill to Keogh. Well, how would Bob Turner react to Utah going as we see a beautiful block by the Falcons and a turnover? Stephens, hands up to Dozier. Oh, yes. Newcastle leads 26-25. Steve, how do you see Bob Turner? He's looking towards the playoffs. He's got to be unhappy that Dean Utah's going to miss out on all these minutes.
He's unhappy, but I think he's a little bit unhappy with his ball club because he wants to win this ball game. We said before the opener that they want to come out. They don't want to lose 2 games in a row, especially going into the playoffs. And right now, the Newcastle Falcons are playing harder, playing better, and playing more determined like they want to win this ball game.
Okay, so the teams have gone to a timeout. There's the Falcons huddle. Tom Wisman. Down 1 player, if you just joined us. Dean Utah and Al Green disqualified for an altercation. And here's the Kings camp coming up. Bob Turner having a chat to his players. Have you experienced a situation like that before, Steve, in the NBL?
Yes, I have. I wasn't involved, but I was on the floor when Dean Templeton, actually, one of our commentators in Melbourne, was involved in a little altercation with Jerry Denard, who plays with Adelaide right now. And they kind of bumped, and there were some punches thrown and some punches that were connected.
Paul, you would have come in for some heavy contact under the boards. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Actually, I was in that same game with Steve Carfino, and I think I swung at someone and missed, and someone pulled me back, but I think that's the last game I was involved in, too.
Yeah, it's funny how even at this level, tempers just get the better of you at those moments. Turns out to be a matter of survival, sort of law of the jungle thing, as Hill drives right to the baseline, hands off to Morrissey. Mccleary finally controls it, and the shot won't go down. Johnson cleans up. Now, Peter Harvey's on court, very popular player at the Entertainment Centre, the number 22. Johnson. Grant Kruger had no one at his back, but turns to make the shot. It's not down. Morrissey rebounds and hands off to McLean, who gets around 2. Takes the safer option to Keogh now. Fires it in. Well, Mccleary did well to get the shot in even. He was right underneath. Johnson now waits for the offense to catch. Turner, we're into the last 30 seconds. Harvey back to Turner, but, well, in the end, Johnson got control of it. And it'll be a Newcastle ball from the side.
And Tim Morrissey charged with that foul with a push. Basically, he fell down and rolled into Mike Johnson, who had possession of the basketball. Unfortunate one for Timmy, but they've got to call that one.
Sydney still, even without Utah, out rebounding Newcastle by 16-9. Michael Johnson on the free throw line to maybe give Newcastle a bigger lead. He does.
He's got one of those picture-perfect shots. Look at the form on his shot as he goes to the free throw line.
He's also leading his team scoring tonight. As he gets the second, he has 10 points. And Newcastle 28 leads Sydney 25. Hill settles things down for the Kings.
Falcons playing on a lot of emotion, just like they usually do when they play the Sydney Kings here in Newcastle.
Bumping off Kruger. Tough matchup there for Grant Kruger. The basket will count. 2 seconds. Dwayne McCleary has got some moves.
One now.
He went by Grant Kruger right there like he was nailed to the floor, then went around 2 more players, avoided the shot block, and put it in nice and soft, going to the free throw line for a possible 3-point play.
In fairness to Grant Kruger, he joins a long list of people who've had to guard McCleary. And the import for Sydney cannot buy the 3rd point. So it's 28-27, a late shot from Newcastle. The quarter is over, but the Falcons still lead by 1 in a very eventful first 12 minutes of basketball here at Newcastle Entertainment Centre. We'll be back after this break with more action. The Newcastle Knights home ground, but you'd be mistaken for thinking that that's where we were about 6 minutes ago, where we had the closest thing to an all-in brawl on the court. Paul Kuiper, you've been in the timeout for the Falcons. What's happening with them, and have you any more information on the ejections?
Well, the Falcons think that they can get open in the Sydney zone. They're going to look for Terry Dozier to break free around the free throw line, to receive the ball, and maybe hit a few easy baskets. As far as the ejection, I think we'll hear more about that after the game is over.
Steve, we were having a chat during the break about the possibility of Utah missing out on Monday's playoff game.
That's right, because he's been ejected from the game. That may mean a 1-game suspension. Al Green, of course, he can't be suspended because this is their last game of the year. Sydney Kings going to the playoffs, and that could be trouble for the Sydney Kings if their big man has to sit out the first game of the playoffs.
Well, in fact, we've just been told, now here's another clash underneath.
22.
We've just been told by some officials that there won't be a suspension. As far as they know, the punishment will end here. So that would be good news for the Kings. But it throw Turner's game plan into disarray for Monday night, where they're likely to play the Cannons, but we just don't know for sure yet. There's still a lot of options with Adelaide winning last night. McCleary has the ball. Let's get on with the game. Peter Hill, the little jumper, but it's wide. Dozier pulls down another rebound. Harvey, nice shot. Peter Harvey takes Newcastle out to 31 points, a 4-point lead. Speaking of Terry Dozier, he's pulled in 4 important defensive rebounds tonight. Not on the offense, though, as McCleary gets up for the shot, but
big size call. Big size advantage. Dwayne McCleary down low against Everette Stephens. He couldn't do anything but balance. Almost got away with it, too.
Well, Everette Stephens getting into a little foul trouble. He's got 3.
You see right here, Dwayne McCleary just backing him up, and he goes for it. Looked like Grant Kruger got Dwayne McCleary on the elbow as he was going out, just on the left elbow.
McCleary sinks it. So it's 31 to Newcastle, 28 to Sydney. And that's 2 from 2. The gap narrows to 2 points. Newcastle on offense. Kruger to Dozier. Jumper just inside, it misses, but good rebounding, Michael Johnson. Well, Dozier fakes and forcing McCleary to go over the top. And Terry Dozier will go to the free throw line.
Well, the rule on that one is when you get faked up in the air, you got to make sure, as Terry Dozier makes the cut right there with a nice pump fake. Kenny McCleary's just got to make sure he doesn't get the shot off. And Terry Dozier did a good job of getting it off and almost got a 3-point play.
There's a lot of poundage there looming above him as he stayed there. The 26-year-old forward misses. A rare miss for Terry Dozier.
1.
He's got 6 points tonight. Michael Johnson leads his team scoring with 10. Mccleary's the best shooter for Sydney with 11. This one's down. So Newcastle now leads by 4 points. 3, I should say. 32-29. Long outlet. D'Ambrosis tried desperately to keep it in unsuccessfully. Newcastle turnover. Tony D'Ambrosis, he came on last week, had a brilliant couple of short bursts against the Melbourne Tigers. Then not so happy a game against Hobart last week. He'll be looking to make the most of his time as Stephens is dispossessed, but a bit of arm there in the contact.
21.
Stephens made a nice little move, like what everybody calls a curl cut in basketball, where his man was trailing him, and they gave him a nice pass into the lane, and he got fouled.
2 shots.
Stephens on the line. 10 minutes, 10 seconds. Plenty of time in the second quarter, and this one creeps in.
1.
And that's 2. So Newcastle gets a mini break. They're 5 ahead of Sydney. Dwayne McLean. Full court pressure now. The double team didn't work on McLean. He nearly went all the way. Mccleary dunk. And that pleased a pocket of Sydney Kings supporters who are sitting up in the stands almost right behind the
nice dish
Kings
by McLean there.
court.
Ken Mccleary goes up, gave the basket a bit of a hang there.
34-31. Johnson. Oh, it's in and out now. Mccleary, turnover time to McLean. D'Ambrosis just inside the perimeter. Morrissey turns. Hill for 3. Not good. Kruger. And now Peter Harvey comes back down. This is quick. Johnson goes in, but a nice block from D'Ambrosis, but catches a bit of arm.
I think that might have been Peter Hill.
22.
Right. 22, that is Peter Hill.
2 to the arms. 2.
He got Michael Johnson as he was running away from the play. Quick hands, but not quick enough.
In the act of shooting, so Johnson goes to the free throw line.
Got a good look at Peter Hill right there, and he's very familiar with these players. 2 years ago playing for the Newcastle Falcons.
And judging by his reception when he ran out tonight, I don't think they forgave him for leaving. So good shooting from Johnson. 36-31. Michael Johnson goes to 12 points. D'Ambrosis gets around Stephens all the way. Nice move. So Sydney narrows the gap to 3 points in the second quarter. Harvey, big block. D'Ambrosis. Mccleary keeps it in. It's off Everett Stephens. Sydney's ball from the side.
Nice block by Tony D'Ambrosis. Nice hustle by Ken Mccleary, throwing the ball off of Everett Stephens. Good hustle by the Sydney Kings.
Peter Hill out to Tim Morrissey. Now D'Ambrosis. Busy lineup for the Kings. Shot missed. Good rebounding from Grant Kruger.
Well, that's a frustration foul by Tony D'Ambrosis right there. He missed that one. Little left-hand hook. Probably felt like he should have made it. But the inexperience showing right there went over the back out of frustration.
Speaking of frustration, there are the 2 coaches. Tom Wisman must be fairly happy the way his teams composed themselves after a fairly busy start to the game. Johnson for 3. Oh, deserved better than that. Mccleary got the rebound.
One player you couldn't accuse of being flat is Kenny Mccleary.
Right.
Threw that ball off of Everett Stephens last time, going after every rebound, and has been very dominant in the interior for the Sydney Kings.
Timeout's been called again by Tom Wisman. So his team leads by 36-33 at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. Not doing a bad job at all containing the Sydney Kings without Dean Uthoff. So we'll go to a break, come back with more action from Newcastle after this.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Entertainment Centre in Newcastle. And you've heard about Elle McPherson and Claudia Schiffer. Have a look at this, the slamming calendar for the NBL. Somehow I don't think these guys quite match up with the previous 2, but in their own right, excitement plus. Andre Lafleur there. That was a nice action shot. The best in the league captured in photographs on the Slammin' calendar. You can get it just about anywhere. Everette Stephens, we're going to see him tonight. Ricky Grace.
Well, I don't think El McPherson can guard any of these guys either.
No, that's true. Back on court at the Entertainment Centre. Newcastle leading Sydney by 3 points. Paul Kuiper was in the huddle at that timeout. Tom Wisman called it. What was it for, mate?
Well, Tom Wisman is concerned with the intensity. He wants to keep it up. Believe it or not, Newcastle fans are used to seeing the Newcastle team ahead at halftime. It's the second half where they really fall apart. He wants to keep the intensity up.
The Ambrosius wins the rebound.
Tony with a nice hustle. Dwayne McCleary.
15 on the arm.
15 on the arm is Chris Steele. Dwayne McCleary missed that shot, went up for the second shot, missed that one. Tony D'Ambrosius goes after everything. That's one of his better qualities when he's in there, and he goes to the line for 2 shots.
All net. And there's the Kings fans. They've not really traveled very far. It's quite a quick trip up from Sydney to Newcastle these days by car or by train. Dozier gets it away after the second shot missed. The Falcons still lead by 2. Peter Harvey back out to Johnson. Oh, turnover time. McCleary with the intercept. And uncharacteristically just lays it up.
And Chris Steele, in hot pursuit there, made sure Dwayne McCleary didn't get a chance to wind up and slam it home.
Peter Harvey, it's all square at 36 points in this game. Grant Kruger looking meaner than ever with that haircut. And nice moves, Chris Steele, but it doesn't go down. Peter Hill winds up alone and brings it back for the Kings. Mccleary has won a lot of inside buckets tonight. D'Ambrosius jumps it. Nicely up, Michael Johnson.
21 for the push. 1-1 now.
Foul against Kenny Mccleary. Now that's 5 team fouls up against Sydney. So we're going to go to the other end of the court. In the meantime, Mark Dalton checks back in. Kenny Mccleary has 3 fouls up for the game, and we're still 7:30 shy of the first half. Ken Mccleary sitting down with Jody Oster there on his right and Damien Keogh. Michael Johnson on the charity stripe sinks it nicely. Beautiful action, as Steve said.
Go straight to the hoop. That's a neutral spot there. 1. Yeah, between the 2 lines.
Johnson gets it. He has 14 for the game. Heading for a nice game, Michael Johnson. 38-36, Newcastle leads. Dalton. Turnover. Peter Harvey driving away from his own keyway and gets it under heavy pressure from Dwayne McCleary. Good basket and has a bit to say to Timmy Morrissey. Now.
Saw that one coming from a mile away.
You can see it coming. He gave Tim Morrissey a golf ball and Morrissey just charged him down. There he is. That was as hot as they come.
Yeah, Paul Harvey was John to Tim Morrissey after he made that basket. We saw Tim lining him up the whole way, didn't we?
Yep. He could have written it on a bit of cardboard and held it up for the crowd as Dozier drives. Now, there was contact on his arm as he went up to the bucket. So he'll go to the free throw line and non-stop action at the Entertainment Centre. 40 plays 36. The Falcons lead. Tim Morrissey. There's no doubt about him.
Well, usually he can get someone else fired up like that.
Yes, that's right.
And he's the one that gets them to foul him, to retaliate and foul him.
Well, when you think about it, Sydney lost the ball on the breakout, so didn't work out too well. Terry Dozier sinks it. So now Newcastle leads by 6. They've built a nice break on the Kings. And Sydney not handling things too well. Peter Harvey almost made a sensational steal. Dwayne McCleary shot blocked by Dozier, and things not going right for Sydney. Timeout's been called.
Well, Terry Dozier's a very good shot blocker.
Substitution, sorry.
Very good shot blocker. Terry Dozier went up and timed that one from Dwayne McCleary. Probably just a little bit too casual on that one. And Terry Dozier with the good timing made the block.
Harvey goes for the drive. He's enjoying this game. Got a touch from Sydney, so Newcastle will get it back.
Well, ever since Harvey's come into the ball game, the Newcastle Falcons have had great intensity, so he stayed in.
Yep, he's livened things up a bit, the number 22. Kruger, a little lob, but that was a telegraphed one. McLean, will he jam it? No. And again, that man Harvey was back there.
All right.
Running and running.
Right there, the Falcons were guilty of not coming to the basketball. There were 4 people just standing around, and the guy making the inbounds pass had nowhere to go.
Nice move inside, but no score. Newcastle toughing this game out really well, Paul.
That's right. As we see Peter Harvey, he's an exceptional athlete. He surfs about 3 hours every morning and goes to 2 or 3 hours of training every afternoon. So he's certainly fit enough to keep this pace up.
I wish I had time to do that.
Got to become a basketball player.
Yeah, there's no chance of that. I think you saw my shooting form before the game tonight.
Boy, after hearing that schedule, I realize why I miss playing basketball. Surfing for 3 hours and coming to training.
Grant Kruger is on the free throw line for the Falcons. They lead by 6 points and still lead by 6 points.
One.
Double miss, and Keogh pulls down the rebound. So still a good 6 minutes left in this half. Sydney down by 6, and with a few problems. McLean again, every time he gets the ball he's double teamed, and that time it worked. Well, Keogh's been pinched for making contact, hacking a leg of a player. And with the 5 team fouls up, as I mentioned, Newcastle again goes straight to the free throw line. They spent a lot of time there tonight.
You get a look at the Kings captain, Damien Keogh, telling his teammates to pass the ball around because the Sydney Kings are putting it on the floor every time they get it. And to beat a zone, you got to beat it by the pass. Hasn't
been a bad place for them tonight, Newcastle. They've gone to the free throw line 18 times already. 1-on-1. Of those shots, they've made 13. So it's been a pretty handy point-scoring area for them. The shot is down. Yes, Sean Dennis, yes. And it's 43-36.
Part of the ball. One.
McLean getting an explanation there from the ref. Dennis makes 2.
Referee telling Dwayne McLean that the hand's part of the ball, so if a defender hits his hand while it's on the ball, it shouldn't be a foul.
And again, Sydney offense spoiled. Dozier getting in there, just couldn't quite control it, but nevertheless, upset one offense. Sydney restarts as McLean gets it to Keogh for 3 points. Timely bucket from Damien Keogh. He tends to buy into the game with those shots when he feels they need to block a run. It's 44-39 now. Sydney back to within 5.
That was a big 3.
Peter Harvey. Well, Newcastle were threatening to get right away from them. Steele. Dennis goes for a little drive. Now it's Steele again. Off the rim, and Dalton in there to give Sydney a bit of rebounding strength. Hill takes it nicely. And D'Ambrosius, nice handoff from Peter Hill. Good assist, 44-41.
That's what the Sydney Kings have got to do. They've got to attack that defense before they can get back and set up in their zone.
The Newcastle crowd stirring up Grant Kruger. He misses the shot. Peter Harvey decides to wait. Little screen there set for him by Dennis, and now driving into the baseline, Dozier hands off to Kruger, and it's down. So Newcastle lead by 46-41. The game's starting to get a bit of a flow now. 4.5 minutes left in this second quarter. As Sydney perimeter passes. D'Ambrosius from a wide out gets the rebound, and also gets some contact from Grant Kruger.
22, 2 for the arms, 1-on-1,
Tony D goes to the line. After taking a questionable shot, he went very hard for that offensive rebound, probably because he knew it was off as soon as he let it go.
Steele and Peter Harvey check out. And back in the game, Everette Stephens. No score, so Sydney not having a great night from the free throw line, shooting 56%. Newcastle still leads by 5. We're approaching the 4-minute mark in the second quarter. Kruger inside, can't make it, but D'Ambrosius gets the rebound. Keogh. Peter Hill for 3 points. It's short. No, D'Ambrosius almost tipped it in. But again, Newcastle out-rebounds on the defensive boards. Johnson to Stephens. Double-teamed, but here's Johnson for 3. It's short. But Dozier gets the rebound on offense. The hook shot doesn't go, so now it's McCleary on the breakout. They're down by 5, the Kings. Keogh tries to get around Dennis. Gets the shot off. Foul against Dennis.
Dennis saw the overload on one side. Saw he's one-on-one with Sean Dennis. Took it to the open area. Forced the foul.
Well, on their own boards is where Newcastle are doing their busiest work. They've pulled in 16 defensive rebounds, 4 on offense. Timeout's been called by Tom Wisman. The game interestingly poised, 46-41. Getting back to the rebound stats, Sydney are 13 and 13 on the boards. Utah made 4 on offense, which is one of the key factors of Sydney's game before he was ejected for that clash with Al Green. Al Green went as well. Let's have a look at the Sydney huddle. Bob Turner has got the clipboard out.
Guy ready to spin it for you. Okay, everybody? So when the ball's on the wings, get it moving. All right, get it moving, and then we just work these posts down. So when Tony goes down, Tang, you flash off and sail in the middle. Vice versa, ball goes the other way, just run it next. Just keep moving it inside. Okay, let's keep working it inside. Okay? Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Defensive end, too many seconds.
Tom Wisman now on the Newcastle bench.
Terry, you're in the 4 spot. Penetrate through Terry in the middle. Not get it to Michael. Get it to Everett. Okay?
Paul Kuiper is there with the Newcastle huddle. What are your thoughts on how they're traveling?
Well, once again, they're playing very well in the first half. I would think Tom Wisman would have to be concerned with to keep up this intensity. On the other hand, I think the Sydney Kings, whether they win or lose, would be happy with this kind of game. It's kind of like a playoff game, what they have to do this week. So they'll be happy with the intensity the Falcons are giving them.
So, 14 points to Johnson, top scoring. There's the rebounds on defense, as I pointed out earlier. Newcastle pulling in 16, which has been very good work. Sydney with 13. On offense, however, Newcastle have 4. So, Sydney certainly out-rebounding them at their end.
Especially since the Sydney Kings are out-rebounding the Falcons earlier in the game, 8 rebounds to 1. So it's been a tremendous comeback for the Newcastle Falcons on the board. One thing about the intensity that the Newcastle Falcons are putting on the Sydney Kings, they're only shooting 33% from the field, way below their season average.
They were doing that in a recent game and lifted it tremendously after a very slow start against the North Melbourne Giants. 46-42. Everette Stephens with the jumper. Nice play. Now, was it inside? It was. 2 points. But the lead is now 6. Dalton's restart with Keogh. Full court pressure from Newcastle. Double teaming Keogh. Down McCleary. Keogh with the no-look to McCleary, who tries a wide shot that doesn't go down. Terry Dozier pulls it in. Johnson, Newcastle have numbers. Oh, blocked from Mark Dalton. But in the end, he just got a piece of Dozier's arm. Look at it. No, pushing foul.
Great, we get a replay of this right here. Nice little give and go. Mike Johnson sees Damian Keogh coming up, kicks it back to Terry Dozier. Mark Dalton coming over and helping. Got him on the body. He got the ball clean, though.
Dozier shoots short.
Terry Dozier will be hoping to have a really good game tonight. on October the 9th. He's traveling over to New York to try out with the New York Knicks Veterans Camp, so kind of exciting time for him.
I'll say, as Peter Hill gets underneath and makes the score. Dozier got back so quickly, though. It's 49-44. Newcastle still in control of the game. 2 minutes 20 left in this second quarter.
Pete Hill with a nice little layup on Terry Dozier. Went right into him so he couldn't get his hands up.
Little screen set by Dozier for Sean Jennison, the 1-2. And Dozier makes the bucket. So he's come up with 10 points tonight. Newcastle leads 51-44. The Falcons pretty well on their scoring average.
Hopefully we can get a replay of that one. Grant Kruger goes up and shoots, and the question is whether Mark Dalton goes up straight on his jump shot or jumps into Grant Kruger, because he is supposed to be able to come down. And that's a close call.
Kruger's got 3 fouls, so he gets a rest, and Chris Steele comes on to replace him. He's done nothing wrong in his minutes so far as Mark Dalton misses the free throw shot. So Sydney back to their old ways, shooting 50% from there. And misses the second. It's interesting to look at Sydney's free throw shooting because the stats, the shape of it's pretty well across the board. Mccleary shooting 75% as Chris Steele went up for the shot and missed. It's back out to Johnson and now Jennison. Gets around McClain, but he's dispossessed. Here's McClain on the breakout. Oh, now Johnson. Well, had to do it. He just hated to see Dwayne McClain make a big dunk then.
That was a good, clean play. Dwayne McClain cups it with his left hand. He just got a piece of Dwayne's arm. Good officiating because he got him quick. He got in and out pretty quick on that foul.
Dwayne McClain with only 6 points for this half. Now that is unusual. Make it 7, but still that's way short.
What's so unusual about it is he's only shooting 2 for 8 from the field, and he is almost always above 50%.
And normally makes a lot more shots too. 8 shots in the first half, and we've only got a minute 30 left. Anyway, the score is 51-46 to the Falcons. Dozier inside. Dennis thought about the shot, goes in a little bit shorter, makes it 2 points. It's 53-46 to the Falcons. Dalton makes the score. And a substitution. Peter Harvey checks back in. A very popular move here. Newcastle 53, Sydney 48. How do you feel they've handled Dwayne McClain tonight, Paul Kuiper?
Well, I think they've tried to be very physical. As you see, a couple of the dunks he's tried to make, they've made sure he didn't get that. They're bumping him. They're just trying to disrupt him. But Dwayne McClain's such a class player. I think that he'll be able to overcome that.
Michael Johnson tries to get around the defense. D'Ambrose has got the arm in there for the intercept, but also got a piece of Chris Steele. So the foul called against him. And Sydney's foul count is equal with Newcastle's, 18 apiece at the moment.
Well, as Paul made reference to Dwayne McClain being able to overcome that, that's one thing he's been able to do throughout the year. He's seen a lot of different defensive combinations thrown at him, and he just seems to adjust, especially in the fourth quarter.
Alex Morgan-Lowe has come on for the Falcons. Nice free throw from Chris Steele. Opens the lead up to 6, and we're inside a minute now in this quarter. Once again, nice action. So, 55 plays 48. The Falcons doing it nicely as Peter Hill evades the double team. And Keogh takes it back to McClain, who thought about 3. Peter Hill right across to Keogh for the 3-point shot. He gets it. No doubt about him. They don't call him 3-0 for nothing. The gap is down to 4 with 30 seconds on the clock. So
he's banged in 4 for 6 from the 3-point line at 67%. And they're going to have to do something about that.
Keogh equal top scorer with Mccleary, and all, or most of it, from the free throw line. I should say from the 3-point line.
play. Yeah. Here we go.
Dwayne McCleary points out that there's only 4 seconds on the shot clock, 3 seconds different from the game clock.
Dennis shoots short, so Sydney will probably have no time, although Peter Hill makes a big effort. Off the boards, tamely over the sideline. So at half-time at the Entertainment Centre, Newcastle Falcons 55 lead the Sydney Kings 51. And Bob Turner walks to the locker rooms with a most unhappy look on his face. We'll go to a break. We'll come back with more action and a wrap-up of half-time after this message. Welcome back to the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, where the Falcons lead the Sydney Kings by 55 points to 51. We'll check out what happened in the locker rooms in a moment, but first, let's have a look at the stats for the first half. Here they are, 55-51. Field shot percentage, that tells a lot about the game, really, Steve.
It tells a lot about the game. Sydney Kings 36%. That's way down on their season average, and they're going to have to pick that up in the second half. And they've gone back to their old ways on the free throw line at 54%. Still out rebounding the other team, and the turnovers are down.
The top scorers, Johnson having a big night. He's seen a lot of the free throw line too, so he's been all over the place, Michael Johnson. Pulled down some good boards too. 4 on defense and 1 on offense. Kenny Mccleary top scoring for Sydney along with Damien Keogh. Terry Dozier just behind Michael Johnson. Stevens and Harvey backing up. Peter Harvey's had a very busy game. Unusually quiet though. Dwayne McCleary for the Kings. And if you have just joined us, he went off with Al Green for an altercation in the first quarter, which, well, they call him Mean Al Green. Well, Dean and Mean getting pretty heavily involved there for a while, but we're back with the tip-off for the second half, and Neil Turner tried to break away, caught the leg of Dwayne McCleary, and the foul goes against Dwayne. So Newcastle.
Right here, Neil Turner gets away right here. You can see Dwayne McCleary and Neil Turner tangling feet.
Oh my God, you just slam it. Even in the NFL, they call it a clip.
Having a joke with Dwayne McCleary. Dwayne said, hey, you tripped.
And you heard the ref. He was going to jam it. Neil Turner on the line.
He was trying to get in our video at halftime.
Yeah, that's right. 57-51. Full court pressure from the Falcons. Mark Dalton back out to Dwayne McCleary. Little jumper inside the 2-point range, and he gets it. So one wonders if McCleary will decide to involve himself in this second half. Turner went up for the jam, and Mark Dalton collected him. The Falcons lead by 4.
Neil Turner going up. And I'm just wondering when that fella's going to put some weight on. They've been talking about he's going to be a great player when he beefs up and hits the weights and puts some weight on. And I'm just wondering when he's going to do it, because he's got great mobility, a great shooting touch, and he's got great skills for a big man. He's just too light.
Very promising player, Paul. Is Neil going to be on any weight programs next year?
Well, Steve's right. I'm wondering the same thing. He's had most of the year to do a lot of weight training, and so far he hasn't. I think next year it's going to be an ultimatum. You put on weight or you sit on the sideline.
It's a lot of talent that can be molded into a big machine. He pulled in that board very nicely there, and Michael Johnson gets it away to Everett Stephens, who puts on the double shuffle on Keogh and makes the shot, but it doesn't go down. Morrissey with the rebound. 58-53. Newcastle still command this game.
Sydney Kings just having a little bit of trouble attacking this zone as Damien Keogh launches a 3 and can't make it. That has been the only success that they seem to have ever since Kenny Mccleary was dominating the zone early in the first quarter.
Keogh's made 4 from 8 from the field. Nice no-look pass from Turner to Dozier, but it didn't come off. Sydney gets it back from Mccleary to Keogh. Keogh shooting 4 from 8 from the field. They're all 3-point shots. And he's been to the free throw line once for his 13 points as Michael Johnson, who's having a big game, moves in and shakes his head at the Morrissey challenge. 60-53. Newcastle not doing too badly.
The zone giving the Sydney Kings a little bit of trouble. They've got to hit Kenny Mccleary. side, and they try to do that too. And Kenny Mccleary lost the handle on that one, but it must have hit a Newcastle Falcon because the referee was right there.
Chris Steele obviously didn't agree, went straight to the sideline as Keogh nicely regained control. Good, tough bucket. And gives Sydney a little breather. They're back to within 5 points. Nice move, Everett Stephens and Michael Johnson. Stephens made the score, but Michael Johnson can take a lot of credit.
Nice little give-and-go play. The defense not jumping to the line of the ball right there. Damian Keogh a little bit guilty on that one.
Well, no one player as Dalton receives that inside pass, and
good recognition on that one. That's what the Sydney Kings have to do. They have to attack the zone from the backside and shoot cutters from the back where the Newcastle Falcons can't see the cutters where they're coming from.
Dalton on the free throw line. No one player has taken this game by the scruff of the neck. Johnson shooting 16, Dozier 12, and Stephens 11 for the Falcons as Dalton makes the first of the free throw. For Sydney, Mccleary with 13, Keogh with 15, and McLean with 10 are sharing the scoring. So no one's really buying into this game in a big way yet. Mark Dalton puts it down and gets Sydney within 5 points. Everett Stephens. Johnson to give and go with Steele and back again. Neil Turner. Stephens gets the shot off. And Keogh cleans up off the rebound. It looked good until the ball went to Newcastle. Everett Stephens on the break. 3-on-2. Johnson in the act of shooting his foul.
Foul is 55 to the block.
Right there, Bob Turner's going to have a chat with Damian Keogh
On the hip push.
as Everett Stephens throws a no-look pass to Mike Johnson. And Tim Morrissey gets Mike Johnson with it must have been the body because he didn't get his arm.
Tim Morrissey in trouble with 4 fouls. 2 more and he's out of the game. Johnson puts another point down.
Well, Bob was a little unhappy with Damian, but I think Damian was more unhappy with himself because he jumped in the air, didn't have anywhere to go. They cut off the passing lanes, and he had to just throw it anywhere.
Michael Johnson is shooting 100% from the free throw line tonight. And a few players have done that, but none of them have made anywhere near as many as 8 attempts. So Johnson looking very good from the charity stripe. He shot 2 from 5 from 3-point range. Overall, he's shooting 50% from the field. Mccleary gets inside for a well-earned bucket. 64-59 the score now.
But when the Kings had the lead early in the first quarter, that's what Kenny Mccleary was doing, getting to the seams and hitting that nice little soft touch jumper.
Turner nicely evades Mark Dalton, but can't get the shot down. Keogh gets it back. Turnover time. Sydney trying to erode this 5-point lead that the Falcons have built. And Sydney once again finding it hard to penetrate the Newcastle defense as McLean has Turner and is pretty well locked up by the double team. Here's Keogh forced into the 3-point shot, which is good. How many times do you see him do it? He's shooting 5 from 8 from that range and has narrowed the gap to 2 points. Here's Stephens to respond and does it. Back to 5 points. Nice move, Everett Stephens. Saw the momentum swinging just away from his team. Came up with a timely bucket. And his first 3-point shot of the night. Keogh tries to get inside, just loses control. The foul called against Newcastle, and Tom Wisman wasn't happy. Keogh, the little fake, and goes all the way to the baseline and back out. So, great Newcastle defense. They've worn the clock down, and Sydney get the rebound off the edge of the board. Everett Stephens very upset about that one.
And that's his 5th foul.
Yep, Everett Stephens in a bit of strife. And what a strike weapon to lose. And we've still got nearly 6 minutes left in the 3rd quarter.
He doesn't want a technical foul because that counts on your foul tally. And that would take him out of the game.
Sorry about that, Steve. Bob Turner would be very happy to see Everett Stephens out of the game. He's caused a few problems in the last couple of minutes.
Well, sometimes when a star player leaves the game in foul trouble, then the team lets down, and you know the Sydney Kings are capable of that.
We'll go to a break and back with more at the Entertainment Centre after this message. Action at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, 72-65. And Basketball Extra don't forget every Saturday with that guy. I can't remember his name. And me.
Bill Woods.
That's right. 12 noon. And entertainment aplenty as Everette Stephens buys into some foul trouble. 17 points, but look at that, 5 fouls. Paul Kuiper has been with the Tom Wiseman discussion.
Well, as I said before, they're going to try to go into a triangle in 2 where 3 inside players, the big players, guard the area close to the basket, and the other 2 guard will be Hill and Keogh on the outside, trying to stop them from scoring.
Yeah, they must feel like those 3-point shots that Damian's been hitting are really hurting them. That's about the only thing.
That's right, and they feel like with the 3 guys inside, without Utah in there, they feel like they can get a few boards.
We've got 2 shots now.
Well, that's a very good defense against a team that's tentative on the offensive end. Sometimes it takes a while to work out what the other team is in when they go to a combination defense like that. As Mark Dalton continues to struggle from the line. Not him personally, but the Sydney Kings as he misses both of them. And Terry Dozier pulls down the board.
Sydney down by 7. Peter Harvey brings it back for the Falcons. Takes on Peter Hill one-on-one. Nice moves. Steal back to Johnson for 3. Not down. Yes, it is down. Well, this is interesting. For the first time in the game, Newcastle have opened up a 10-point lead. So, Paul, obviously they're looking to put away that reputation of being a team that dies in the last 2 quarters.
Well, so far, I've seen about 10 games this year where they were destroying teams at halftime. But this seems like a whole new team tonight.
D'Ambrose has just narrowed the gap a little. 75-67, Newcastle leads. And Michael Johnson having a big game, but that one was a little wide. Keogh brings it back to Sydney.
As you see the Sydney Kings get into offense right here, the people that they're manning, as Paul said, are Damian Keogh and Peter Hill.
Mccleary can't get it down. Dozier. Johnson double team for a moment, but Dozier gets the ball. Now he's trying to get around. Turner out to steal, who shoots nicely, and he liked it. 77-67. 4 minutes 40 in this 3rd quarter.
It seems like the Sydney Kings are doubling people when they don't have to, therefore leaving open players to shoot. As Ken Mccleary throws a pass, it was probably a little bit questionable.
Chris Steele cleans it up to Peter Harvey. Newcastle right on top. Johnson is now shooting 23 points. Everett Stephens 17. But he'll be used sparingly from now on. He is on the threshold of being out of the game with 6 fouls. Mccleary, the foul called against him.
With Everett Stephens on the sideline and Peter Harvey steps in. You see him going to the basket on a strong move here. Ken Mccleary reaches in, and that's where the contact was made. He'll go to the line. But Peter Harvey doesn't back down from anyone. And the Sydney Kings may have let down a little bit, seeing Everett Stephens going to the bench and Peter Harvey coming in, but he can do the job too in another way.
I'm sure Bob Turner, as a means of pumping his team up for the playoffs, would love to see Sydney come back from this 10-point deficit and win the game. But in fact now it's 11 as Peter Harvey goes to the line for a 2nd time. Misses this one, but that is the biggest lead Newcastle's had all night. 78-67.
Newcastle back into that zone now. It's Terry Dozier.
Nice move from Mark Dalton. Gets inside, obviously feels as though he has to shoulder a bit of the scoring duties because Sydney just can't. None of the Sydney shooters can get a real run on. 78-69. Utah's out of the game. Dozier pulls off a big 2. Now 80-69.
Well, he's got good post moves, and he can also square up to the basket, face the basket, and has a nice little jumper. That's why he's so tough to stop.
D'Ambrose bumps off Dozier, and a good bucket for him and Sydney. 80 plays 71 now. The Falcons, though, still in charge, and here's Steele. It's down. Almost identical to the shot he made a couple of offenses back. So Chris Steele obviously likes the spot. 82-71.
2 times in a row, Chris Steele has gotten a basket from a Paul Harvey penetration. They've got to keep him out of the lane.
Mccleary bounced to D'Ambrosis. And misses the shot, but Dalton gets in there with a rebound. Interesting to see Mark Dalton did this earlier in the year in Melbourne. When Sydney shooters weren't going so well, Mark Dalton brought into the game, picked up a swag of points, and an MVP. 82-73. Johnson right out to Steele. I thought he might have headed for his favourite spot again, but Chris Steele centres the play. Peter Harvey. Now Dozier, but Dalton right on his hammer. Chris Steele takes the 3 and goes between the defence. That one's come up just a little short, and Mccleary pulls in the rebound. So Sydney now look to have intensified themselves a little at both ends of the court. We've got just over 2 minutes left in this quarter. Dwayne McCleary and Chris Steele. D'Ambrosis goes for the drive, but runs into a brick wall. Dalton again with the shot off the rim, and Dozier has the rebound. Well, Mark Dalton obviously has lifted his shooting rate in the last couple of minutes, Steve.
Well, the reason Mark Dalton's so wide open and Tony D'Ambrosis with that combination defense, as Harvey goes to the basket, kicks it to Terry Dozier for the jumper.
Oh, it's short. Oh, short. Just short, yeah. Dwayne McCleary on the breakout. He's on 2. Takes them both on. And the bucket counts. Good hustle from Dwayne McCleary. Chris Steele there, a little disappointed with the result.
Knifing through the Newcastle defense. Getting a piece of him, getting a piece of the ball. He still kept control and put it down for the possible 3-point play.
So Sydney once again tightens this game up just a little. It's a 7-point gap. Neil Turner checks out, and Mr. Muscle, Grant Kruger, comes back into the game.
Okay, it's 1 shot now.
We're talking about that combination defense before. It's a zone on the inside with a triangle, and the 2 players that they are playing man-to-man on are Peter Hill and Dwayne McCleary. So that allows Mark Dalton and Tony D'Ambrosis to get open shots.
3-point play for McCleary. Sydney 76, Newcastle though on top with 82. Nice inside ball to Dozier. Sydney didn't read that at all. Johnson back out though.
What's that,
Peter Harvey. A bit of contact going in there under the boards, but the refs are on top of it. Peter Harvey, Johnson, nice team perimeter passing. Chris Steele is going to be short, and he gets it back though. Dozier. Johnson for 3. It's a beautiful shot, all net. And Michael Johnson sends his team to 85 points. Sydney is on 76, and Johnson with a personal tally of 26. Ken Mccleary got in with the shot. 85-78. Not a bad game from Mike Johnson, Paul.
Mike's known for that 3-point shot, and it's just a matter of time. When he gets connected, he can go all night long.
And you can see a few determined looks on the faces of the Kings. Dwayne McCleary, now Terry Dozier arguing the point.
Hang on a sec, let me speak. Anybody starts to react, it's going to be out of the game. It's okay. You're out of here. Okay?
Well, Kenny Mccleary buying into the argument with Terry Dozier.
With the arms, let's keep it right on the game. That's all right, but you're inciting something.
Things getting a little heated out there, but basically tech fouls are in the offing if the players keep mouthing off over the decisions. Dwayne McCleary in the end is on the free throw line and gets it down. So
I think a little bit of that discussion was the way that Dwayne McCleary was fouled. He was fouled and then hit in the head afterwards. And I mean, that happens to make sure that he doesn't get the 3-point play. But that can also get the tempers going too.
Dwayne McCleary has slipped up to 15 points. The scoring very evenly shared though amongst the Kings tonight as Peter Harvey makes a beautiful drive all the way through the Kings defense. And what would Bob Turner have to say about that? Right on 3-quarter time, the Newcastle Falcons still in command. They lead by 89 points to 80. And I'm not sure how many shells Bob Turner has left after firing a lot of shots at the Kings in that last timeout. There's Tom Wisman. We'll go to a break and come back with what is sure to be a tremendous final quarter at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. The Falcons up by 9. Tom Wisman with his Falcons must be pretty happy. They lead by 9 points at three-quarter time. He's the little cool, calm and collected Terry Dozier there pumping the boys up. But at the other end of the court, the Sydney Kings, they, at the last timeout, got the biggest serve of all time from Bob Turner. Now he's cooled down a little bit. In the meantime, let's go to some hot action from the slam dunk competition.
It's the Mitsubishi Slam Dunk Competition, a chance for you to win some great prizes. It's easy. Simply place the following dunks in the order you think our expert judges will. And the first dunk is Paul Maley from the Kings and Giants showdown at the Sydney Entertainment Centre. Dunk B is Southeast Melbourne Magic's Robert Rose in the clash with the Hobart Devils. Dunk C stars Vince Henson of the Perth Wildcats in their match against the Bullets. Pressures on Vince. And finally, Dunk D is Leonard Copeland for the Tigers and Hawks game at the Snake Pit. Great style, Leonard. September, it's your chance to be a winner. Just be part of 10's basketball action right here on Network 10.
Well, as the aerobics demonstration finishes at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, will the Kings demonstrate some muscle in this final quarter? We're just about to find out. They've got a long way to go, though. Newcastle going very well with a 9-point lead, and so far they've got all the answers.
Well, the Sydney Kings pull this one out like they've done so many times during the year. Played not really miserable. You got to give credit to the Newcastle Falcons. They've played good ball in these three quarters, but the Sydney Kings on so many occasions have just turned it up a couple of notches in the fourth quarter and came home with the win.
Well, when you consider they lost Green early, Everette Stephens has been out of the game. There's Bob Turner looking pretty mean. Everette Stephens has been out of the game with foul trouble. He's on 5, so they're going to use him sparingly in the final quarter. It's been a great effort from the Falcons. And, of course, that man, Paul Kuiper, has been on the bench for a long time with that knee injury. Paul, do you think they can do it in the last 12?
Well, the way they're playing, you have to put the money on them right now. Also, the Kings are going to want to come out this quarter and prove they belong in the playoffs and in second spot.
Jennison now nicely inside to Dozier. Beautiful little jumper, fading away from the defense and gives his team an 11-point lead.
It's very difficult to guard a team where all 5 players are attacking to the basket, and Newcastle has nothing to lose, so they're going in there with reckless abandon, and it's paying off. Their aggressiveness on the offensive end is showing compared to the Sydney Kings.
Nice bucket from Sydney. Dwayne McCleary again. Wonder if he'll react to the Bob Turner blast. 91-82. Percentage-wise, Newcastle shooting 51 to Sydney's 43.
Alice number 12 from the reach in has got 2 shots.
Well, Terry Dozier hit the last basket last time down the floor, and the Sydney Kings are allowing the ball to go into Terry Dozier too close to the basket too easily. As you see right there, the feed goes into Terry Dozier. Just Kenny Mccleary just playing behind him. And I'm not sure if Mark Dalton got him or was it Kenny Mccleary?
Dalton has 4 fouls and McCleary also 4. And Morrissey has 4. So Sydney, pretty high fouling night for them. They're on 23 as a team to Newcastle's 24. They can usually draw a lot more out of the opposition than that. Peter Hill. Tim Morrissey to Keogh. Dwayne McCleary. Dennis marking him tightly, though. They've done a great job on him tonight. Peter Hill misses the shot. And once again, Newcastle come up with the ball. And beautiful moves. Everette Stephens. Yes. Well, they have injected Stephens into the game, perhaps to put Sydney down. 95-84. And at the moment, Sydney has no answer whatsoever. Tim Morrissey tries to get the inside bucket, misses the shot again, and bad luck for Newcastle, but they do get the ball.
Newcastle very committed, going after everything. Not getting the ball clean on their rebound still. 3 Newcastle Falcons going for the loose ball.
Everette Stephens to Johnson now. Terry Dozier. Tim Morrissey takes a dive. And no sympathy at the Entertainment Centre. 95-84, Newcastle leads.
Well, I don't like to see that. I mean, the man could be seriously hurt. So hopefully we'll get a replay of this. Right here, Terry Dozier. He'll probably catch an elbow as Terry Dozier's coming down. See right there? There's the elbow right in the face as Terry Dozier's coming down.
Certainly no intention, but Morrissey is hurt. He's not faking this one. And he's getting a fair razzing for the Newcastle crowd. But he's worried about his left eye by the look of it. The King's doctor just checking him out. And boy, what else can go wrong for Sydney tonight?
You hate to see a crowd cheer when a player goes down. That's just terrible sportsmanship. And you hate to see anyone possibly go down with an injury. Both teams concerned.
This is a fairly long stoppage in the game. And Bob Turner, what must be going through his mind?
Well, right now he's probably a little bit concerned about the health of Tim Morrissey. He's one of his key players. And we keep talking about the playoffs, but Tim is a great injection into the ball game on the defensive end of the floor and gives a different look when he comes into the ball game for Mark Dalton.
Well, Paul said earlier, those sharp elbows do hurt.
Yeah, that's Neil Turner's, but also Terry Dozier, I think, sharpens his up on the same thing as Neil Turner.
See right here, Terry Dozier gets the ball as Kenny Mccleary is out of the play after going for the steal. This is his right or his left elbow coming down on the face of Tim Morrissey. Let's hope he's okay.
Yep. I mean, no intention whatsoever. It's purely an accident, but obviously a nasty one. 8 minutes 26 on the clock. And Tim Morrissey helped to his feet, and I'm not sure how much court time he's going to see for the rest of this game because I'm not sure he's seeing anything at the moment.
And he looks really dazed.
And he's still getting a bit of a pasting. Well, I guess you live with that image. I mean, Tim is the bad boy of the game, and that's how he's promoted, but at least he's getting a bit of an applause for being able to get to his feet and get to the sideline. Sydney has 4 fouls against them in this last quarter. Newcastle has none. So pretty soon the Falcons will go to the free throw line for 1-and-1s. So they hold all the aces at the moment.
In this last quarter, the Sydney Kings have been desperately trying to do everything to stop the Newcastle Falcons. But the Falcons are on a roll. They're taking the game to the Sydney Kings, and the momentum is on their side.
Steve, a lot of times in this situation, there's a bit of a retaliation on the next play, and it'd be interesting to see if Mccleary wants to even things up with Terry Dozier.
Yeah, well, there shouldn't be, should there? I mean, it was nothing in it at all. 96-84, and hopefully there won't be. But Newcastle has a 12-point lead, and that's the important thing. Dwayne McClean tried to drive. Oh, what a bucket. He had to switch hands. He was falling away and still made the shot go down. It's a 10-point game. Still plenty of time left. But Sydney are running out of players. Dozier getting some attention from Dalton. And now there's some nonsense going on off the ball, but nice shot from Stephens, but just misses. So Keogh cleans up for Sydney. D'Ambrosius is on. Peter Hill and now Keogh. Sydney really are met with a fine challenge tonight, and it'll say a lot about their ability to win playoff games if they can come back and make a real match of it. Nice move, but Hill misses the shot. They've got to make him go down. Everett Stephens turned beautifully off the ball. Unfortunately for Sydney, the play came off them, and now it's back with Jennison. Gets around Hill nicely. The screen from Kruger. And Jennison with a big shot. Misses. Keogh tried for the rebound in the end.
Everett Stephens punched that ball like it was Australian rules.
And Terry Dozier goes flying over the Horties. Just as well they're padded Horties. 96-86. Newcastle right on top. We'll go to a break for the Newcastle Entertainment Centre and back with plenty more action after this. The Newcastle Entertainment Centre enjoying this game. 96-86. Their team leads in the final quarter. Just over 7 minutes left. They're doing it very, very well. Sydney, to say the least, is unsettled. on the bench and on the court. Paul, can you see Sydney getting out of it? Newcastle looking very good.
Well, I try to get in there and have a listen. They're kind of huddled around, and I don't think they want me in the huddle. But, you know, the Sydney's come back so many times. You can call them the cardiac kids, and everyone knows they're capable of coming back. It's whether they really feel they want to at this venture in the season.
Nice move in there to McLean. Perhaps they do. The gap is now 8 points, and Everette Stephens brings it up. He's on 5 fouls, remember, but he's chewed up the time pretty usefully since he's come back onto this quarter. Foul on Tony D'Ambrosis against Tony D'Ambrosis on Terry Dozier. So Dozier will go to the free throw line, and he's shooting pretty well tonight.
Well, they're going right to Terry Dozier. He wants the challenge, too. You can tell when a guy is positioning himself whether he really wants the ball or he's just kind of playing the offense. Terry Dozier wants the ball every time down.
He's got 19 points, but have a look or have a listen to this. As he makes the free throw line, Terry Dozier has 1 offensive rebound, but he has 15 on defense.
That's probably why the Sydney Kings, we talked about the absence of Dean Utah. That's probably why the Sydney Kings are struggling a little bit, because they really rely on those second shots. When the Sydney Kings miss, they get a lot of opportunities on second shots.
So it's a 10-point game again. Newcastle have a grip. Dalton. Back out to Keogh. Dwayne McLean on Dozier. 1-on-1. The score doesn't go down, and it's Newcastle's ball. So nothing going right for the Kings, but great defense again from Newcastle.
Well, that's a tough shot on the baseline, but it's usually one that Dwayne McLean makes. He makes it look so easy. Everette Stephens goes to the hole there.
Good drive from Stephens, and acted like a bowling ball there, and the Kings defense with the 9 pins. He goes to the free throw line to extend the lead. Tony D'Ambrosis looking a little despondent.
I think that one was on Damian Keogh, as Everette Stephens sees that little gap right there and goes towards it. And Damian Keogh didn't have position. That's why Everette Stephens going to the line. Fouled in the act of shooting for 2 shots.
D'Ambrosis did have position. 19 points for Everette Stephens. As we said, he's in foul trouble. But nevertheless, it's been a big contribution from him. Nice and clean.
Actually, the ref said that Damian got him across the arm. So Tony might have had position, but Damian got him across the arm. And he knocks them both down.
It looks good. They've cracked the ton, Newcastle. 100 points, and Sydney is 12 behind them. Damian Keogh back to McLean. Perimeter passing. Hill with the big shot. It's wide. D'Ambrosis tries to get the rebound, but with Utah out of the game and Mccleary on the bench, Newcastle more than matching them in the rebounding department.
Well, Newcastle's hustling, but the Sydney Kings can't catch a break. The ball just wouldn't go to Tony right there on that rebound.
Is Dozier free again, and they're forced to foul him.
Actually, the ball just went out of bounds. Terry Dozier very good at timing those. Mark Dalton's very good at timing those. Came from help, as he did on the first block in the first half. Nice block there to Mark Dalton.
Neil Turner gets on D'Ambrosis. Dennis with the shot. It's down. Beautiful play, Newcastle, and they're cooking. 103 now to 88. That's the biggest lead they've had all game. And gee, with just over 5 minutes left, they'd have to really surrender to lose this one.
That's the difference between shooting a 3-point shot as Dwayne McLean goes to the hole.
And Terry Dozier comes up with the block, but the play was pulled up before that.
Dwayne cupped that one, hooked it back like he was going to throw a monster jam on somebody, and nobody wants to get dunked on like that. That's one way you don't want to make the highlight film, is being dunked on.
Paul Kuiper, what do you read into this performance from both teams?
Well, mentally, I think it's very tough for Sydney Kings, knowing that Monday they got to front up again and play for the first game of the playoffs. Whereas for the Falcons, this is it. This is the season. This is the grand final, and they're playing that way.
Would you still back Sydney in a playoff game on Monday?
Certainly would. They're going to have Dean Utah inside, and I think this game will fire them up even more.
Everette Stephens, the little looper, but the alley-oop, I think, was what they were looking for. Dozier didn't quite clean it up, but nevertheless.
Hopefully we can get a replay of that one. As Terry Dozier was setting himself up for the lob, Mark Dalton gave him a little bit of shove to take him out of bounds.
Just looking at the Kings lineup, there's a lot of foul trouble there, but we'll go to this replay first.
You see right there, Mark Dalton didn't allow Terry Dozier to go up for the ball, and Ray Hunt right there on the call makes a good one.
And Terry Dozier rubs it in, 104 to 88. 60% from the line. Foul trouble galore in the Sydney roster. Dalton on 5. Mccleary's got 5. McLean and Morrissey on 4. The ref warning a bit of talk going on there in the background. It's been an eventful game, that's for sure. Dozier puts it down. So Newcastle right on top in this game. They lead by 17 points. And Bob Turner doesn't even bother standing up anymore. Dwayne McLean. Now McLean and Stephens having a few words. And Mccleary, Kenny Mccleary likes to get into these little altercations. Everett Stephens is out of the game.
I think the Macs were just giving Everett Stephens a little bit of a farewell message as he left the basketball game.
Great contribution, Everett Stephens, 21 points, shot 58% from the field, 2 big three-pointers, 1 defensive board.
Jody Austin checks into the game for Keogh. Damien's had a groin that's been bothering him a little bit, and Bob didn't want to play him too much this weekend, but then again, Bob doesn't like to lose basketball games. And at this point, maybe that's a sign
that he thinks
it's
a white flag. Yep. McLean puts it down, and gee, there are no happy campers out there in purple uniforms. I'll give you the tip. 88% for the free throw line. And McLean makes it 2. The score is still 105 to Newcastle. The Kings 89. And gee, I wouldn't like to be in the Kings locker room at the end of this game.
Well, I think the Kings had every intention of winning this basketball game, so you got to give it to the Falcons, who come out and play very good ball. Jody Austin makes a nice quick defensive play and strips Neil Turner.
Regards from the corner on my left-hand side.
But now that the Kings are down, I don't think he wants to take the chance of using Keogh this late in the game.
Double teaming on Dennis. He does beautifully to get away, but in the end, just loses it to Hill. Sydney will get it back from the side after a near double turnover. Peter Harvey, of course, came on for Stephens. He's been a great replacement tonight. He shot 10 points, but he's had a very busy game. That is a dunk. Ken Mccleary.
And he doesn't mess around when he gets up there. That's a strong, powerful. Not only does he get up high, as Terry Dozier answers from the other side.
Oh, that's great. 16 points. Newcastle leads the Sydney Kings. And this is a great finish for the fans. And the Newcastle Falcons really enjoying themselves tonight. Kenny Mccleary checks out for Sydney. And Corey Reeder. So Bob Turner certainly has thrown in the towel. Under 4 minutes left in the game. Peter Hill. Dwayne McLean gets around Dennis and misses the shot. But Reeder gets the rebound, and off the boards it goes down. Good to see Corey Reeder, who doesn't see a lot of court time, getting in, making an early score off a rebound, which is what he'll be trained to do. He's taking over from Dean Newtoff. Well, that's the long-term plan. 107 to 93 the score now.
Well, the Falcons are always tough in Newcastle, especially against the Sydney Kings, and tonight was no exception. As Mike Johnson throws the ball right to his old teammate Peter Hill.
Pushing the back there on Hill. Well, Newcastle's home record hasn't been as good as it could have been this season, bearing in mind they lost Kuiper, then they lost Dozier for a lengthy period, so they had a lot of problems there. So they've done extremely well and still didn't finish that far out of the playoff zone.
Well, this kind of the club that the Newcastle Falcons have kind of remind me of the 1988 Sydney Kings. They put a new club together. They didn't play very well. They made some adjustments in '89 and pretty much kept the same team and were very successful in '89. Do you think that's the case with the Falcons ball?
Well, I think that if there are any changes to be made next year, there'll be either 1 or 2 changes. I think basically Tom would be wise in keeping the same unit, and I've talked to him about it, and I think that's what's going to happen.
They haven't done too badly tonight. Peter Hill gets it back. A little luck there for the Kings. Jody Austin. Hill, big three shot, and it does go down. Well, it's a 10-point game again, and with 3 minutes left, it's still not over. Dozier. Johnson now back out to Dennis. Well, the last thing Newcastle wants to do is let Sydney make it close at the end. So Johnson goes for three. It's off the rim. Hill gets the rebound. Gets behind Dalton, and now D'Ambrosius with a shot, and it's good. Well, Tom Wisman now is getting cranky. Sydney is down by 8 points. Newcastle in charge, but Tom Wisman doesn't want to see his team basically do a Sydney and let their opponents back into the game. We'll go to a break. Could it be an interesting 2.5 minutes at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre? We'll see. Welcome back to the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. It's an 8-point game. The Falcons have dominated for so long. Sydney have fiddled with their lineup. They've had a lot of trouble. Bob Turner under enormous pressure, not happy at all with his team going into the playoffs. He's got youth on court now, and so far they've done a pretty good job cutting back the lead to 8 points.
This game is far from over. We talked about a team letting down when the stars start to leave the game, and that's probably what the Newcastle Falcons are a little bit guilty of. I saw the subs coming in and kind of let down mentally. Peter sure can shoot the ball. Left Tony open. He knocked it down, and now it's an 8-point lead.
Well, Sydney in foul trouble, of course, in the sense that they're now in the 1-on-1 situation, and that's just where Peter Harvey has gone after that foul in his own back court. So this could be just the thing to keep Newcastle at arm's length. Sydney with a lot of pressure on, but he's missed the shot, so...
Well, I think the Sydney Kings should readjust their defense because there's a lot of time on the clock, 2.5 minutes, and not play like there's only a few seconds left as Mark Dalton launches a long one.
Yeah, you might say that was not necessary, but triple teaming almost Peter Harvey, and once again drawing the foul from him, so maybe they feel Peter's not going to be too successful in the one-on-ones, but he gets another chance to show he is.
On the defensive end, you've got to figure, as Mark Dalton fouls out with 6 fouls, you've got to figure that Newcastle Falcons can only take 30 seconds off on each possession. And so if you stop them 3 times, maybe 4 times in a row and score every single time down, you don't have to get real desperate yet. They've got a lot of time left.
Mccleary's on 5 fouls, but he's on the bench. Dwayne McLean has checked in as Peter Harvey sinks the ball. Very important. 107 to 99. And a nice move. Peter Harvey makes it 2 and just locks the game up a little more. 2 minutes 20 left, and it's a 10-point game. McLean misses, but Peter Hill brings the rebound down. Is double-teamed and gets the shot off and misses again. So Newcastle get the offense. Here's Dennis, and he'll wait. So Newcastle just taking hold again after, as Steve pointed out, that little relaxation there.
It was a good timeout by Tom Wisman to make his team refocus. And they're taking a little bit more time off the clock there. They turned it over again.
Sydney have a big deficit to make up. And they're not going to be able to do it.
Bailey's number 4. It's over the arm. It's at the side here.
Sean Dennis, the foul called against him there. And still a low foul count for Newcastle, so it'll be Dwayne McLean from the side. Jody Austin. Peter Hill with 3-point shot. It's not there. So Dennis will clean up, and time has just about beaten the Kings. As Dozier goes in, and Corey Reader takes him out.
31.
As they wave to Terry Dozier, he goes up for the dunk, and like we said earlier, no one likes to get dunked on. Corey Reader put a lot of body on him, and believe me, he's got a lot of body.
Dozier on the free throw line. He's crept up to 25 points and makes that 26. He's now equal top shooter with Michael Johnson. Everette Stephens, 21, even though he was fouled out of the game.
When the Kings beat the Newcastle Falcons in Sydney, Terry Dozier was absent because of a back, and he has made a tremendous impact tonight.
Jody Austin now going for a scamper. Peter Hill and Peter Harvey clashed pretty heavily there as Hill tried to set the screen, but Kruger comes up with the intercept, and now it's Dozier who's having a field day. Dennis for 3. It's just short. Jody Austin. Double teamed and in a big way. You can't say Jody has height on his side. Peter Hill. Nice handoff to D'Ambrosius on the baseline. Very much a case of the Cub Scouts on the court now for Sydney. The blocking foul call. That's 5, and D'Ambrosius will go to the free throw line. Newcastle leads 111 to 99. An emphatic win and a great finish to the season for them.
Tony D'Ambrosius goes baseline. Grant Kruger was a little bit late, not quite getting the position on the baseline. Referee calls a block. That's an air ball from Tony D'Ambrosius from the free throw line.
I can feel the breeze from here.
Yep, the fans love it. This is very much Newcastle's night, and good luck to them. It's their last chance to see their team this season. D'Ambrosius makes amends with the 1, and so Sydney breaks into the 100, but they've been well and truly outplayed tonight by a more disciplined team as well. Johnson couldn't make it, but Kruger gets inside, makes the basket, and a potential three-point play. And we're inside a minute, and it's all Newcastle. 13-point lead. And Grant Kruger to make it 14. And Tom Wiseman is going to give a little bit of time now to Alex Morgan-Lowe.
Got to look at Bob Turner there. And we've seen that look on his face quite a bit, so don't count the Sydney Kings out, that's for sure.
Corey Reeder gets in for his 4th point of the night. 42 seconds on the clock, and Alex Morgan-Lowe checks in for the Newcastle Falcons. Terry Dozier checks out, and that is the last time you'll see him on court this season. And the fans give him a rousing reception as Harvey goes for another of those nice moves, and Dennis gets the handoff to Johnson, and now Harvey again. They're looking good, the Falcons. They regained their composure after loosening the slack a little bit. Sydney got to within 8 points, I should say. This time the foul on Peter Hill. So Jody Austin having a few words to say, but that's just the result of a frustrating night for the Kings.
You rebound. Take it. Okay, one of you guys can move away.
Jody wasn't on court for the early minutes, but it must have been just as frustrating from the bench. There are some very disconsolate figures at that end of the court as Sean Dennis gives Newcastle a 12-point lead. And another one. When you're hot, you're hot. 13 points, and the seconds ticking down fast. Will Sydney look to at least get the last points of the game? Jody Austin goes for the drive, is dispossessed by Dennis, and they'll get it back to the side, Sydney, with just 9 seconds left. Great performance tonight from the Newcastle Falcons. Everette Stephens fouled out. Terry Dozier on the bench. Hill can't get the shot. Alex Morgan-Lowe got on top with the block. And this game will...
Well, he's in the scorebook.
3, 4 to push. 2.
Peter Hill on the free throw line.
2.
And why not? The crowd sets up a chant for their team. Well, Peter Hill makes the shot.
Falcons definitely gave their crowd something to cheer about here in their last home game.
A real hometown performance and kind of a thank you for the fans and their support all year. And they are good. And it's a great venue. Well, D'Ambrosius gets the ball, and he's not happy with the call. Well, it's all academic now. Sydney is down 115 to 104. 6 seconds on the clock. And Newcastle, Peter Harvey throws the ball wide of Michael Johnson, but he's content just to run time out. He even faked the shot at his own basket. And Newcastle, a terrific win. 115 to 104. The crowd stands and says thank you to a team that has went into the game with nothing to play for except just to say to their fans, this is what we can do. And they've done a very good job tonight on the Sydney Kings, who now go into Monday's playoff in disarray. Bob Turner, the first man off the court. We'll go to a break, come back and wrap up this match, and a great effort from Newcastle Falcons.
Fantastic game, 27 points, 18 rebounds. Can you tell us what are your plans now that the season is over?
Well, I've been blessed with an invitation to the New York Knicks Veterans Camp, so I'm looking forward to that. It's not a whole lot in it, but I'm going to go out there and give it my best shot, and hopefully I stay there for a year or two and come back to Newcastle.
Well, Terry Dozier, a great season and another great game. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Paul Kuiper there with Terry Dozier. When you consider Paul wasn't in the Falcons lineup tonight, and Terry wasn't there for some weeks, they've put in a pretty tough season, Steve.
That is a tough season. Terry was out with a back, Paul was out with a knee, and with Paul Kuiper, they're a much different squad. They're bigger, they rebound better, they get better shots closer to the basket. They're a different team.
Let's have a look at the stats for the game, and I guess Bob Turner will be screwing this up and throwing it in the face of his players in the locker room right now.
Well, the match score right there, the 41% for the Sydney Kings from the field. That's just not good enough if it's going to be in the playoffs. Better teams, better shooting, just not good enough. The Sydney Kings kind of went back to their own ways at the free throw line, 59% from the free throw line. Rebounding, turnovers, Newcastle Falcons.
Yeah, well, we live in interesting times. The Kings embark on their first playoff game on Monday. They have a lot of patching up to do physically and mentally. We had a severe clash early in the game. If you didn't notice, if you joined us late in the match, we had Dean Uthoff and Al Green ejected after a very physical contact. We believe that Uthoff will still be available to play for Sydney in that first playoff game, but we'll give you more details when they come to hand on 10 Eyewitness News around Australia. We'll see you later for the playoffs, and that's going to be very exciting. Thanks, Steve, for joining us tonight, and of course we'll wrap all the playoffs up in Basketball Extra.
Yeah, it'll be a great playoff run.
See you later.